Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Things look different for me here because I'm down in North Carolina at Headliner HQ for the draft, and we're the day after at this point. So last night we had our live stream for the draft, breaking down everything that was happening as it was happening. But there was a couple of big time trades, and we felt the need to create a video this morning to kind of talk about it a little bit. We went over it on the live stream last night, but the big one that caught a lot of people off guard, AJ Brown being traded from the Titans over to the Philadelphia Eagles. I know everyone is all week long for the last couple of weeks talking about Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is going to be the guy that ends up getting traded. And all of a sudden, AJ Brown in the first round, boom, gone like that. I don't think anybody was anticipating that trade. So we felt the need to break it down and talk about it in a video. So let's cover what the trade actually was. The Eagles ended up getting AJ Brown, and then they turned around and signed him to a 4-year, $100 million contract. $57 million of that is going to be guaranteed. Really, the whole reason that they traded AJ Brown, they talked about it, they just couldn't get a deal done. AJ Brown just didn't like the offer that was coming from the Titans. Didn't sound like he was interested in signing anything close to it. They weren't willing to go any higher. They decided to move him, and in return, they ended up getting the 18th overall pick, which they turned around and used on Treylon Burks to try and replace AJ Brown. And they also got the 101st overall pick as well. So again, blockbuster trade, not really anybody anticipating it, and there's some things that are going to happen here. From a pure football standpoint, when you talk about where the Philadelphia Eagles are headed now, this is clearly Jalen Hurts, we're giving you everything that you need to be successful. You need to go out there and you need to get it now. They're doing that. And the writing's kind of been on the wall. The Eagles making a couple of trades, really putting themselves in a position to move up next year to take one of the top quarterbacks if things with Jalen Hurts don't continue to progress. But you got to give him those weapons. And everybody was anticipating the Eagles using a first-round pick on a wide receiver anyway, so they go get AJ Brown. So from a pure from a pure football standpoint, I love this trade. I think it's great for Jalen Hurts. I think it's great for the Eagles. It gives them that dominant outside playmaker that really, honestly, Devonta Smith is not. Now, I've got nothing against Smith. He's a good wide receiver, but I've never considered him an alpha type wide receiver. Now you've got AJ Brown on the opposite side of him, and then you've got Devonta Smith, who is just a crisp route runner, explosive, the quickness, all of that combined on the other side, more than likely seeing a lot of cornerback 2 coverage. It's going to allow him to get open more often, see a lot more one-on-ones. Don't need to worry about those double teams because those double teams are going to go over to AJ Brown, even if they're able to do it. And, let's say a guy like Jalen Reagor can take a little bit of a step forward in the slot as well, and really can cut down on some of those drops we've seen from him. Now you've got a team that really is in a position to accelerate on the offensive side of the football. I think it's also good for a guy like Miles Sanders. I mean, obviously at this point, may hurt like some pass catching, some target opportunities for him, but you're not going to see a whole lot of stacked boxes either for Miles Sanders. So hopefully he's able to kind of get going this year. If they really try to keep a balanced offense, Jalen Hurts running the football is going to take away a little bit from him as well. But really, from a fantasy standpoint, when you take a look at it, now it becomes kind of a cluster, right? Because you had Devonta Smith last year just being this target hog, and that's not going to happen anymore. And we've talked about it on some videos already. I mean, I did a video the other day talking about the consensus rankings right now, and I didn't love where Jalen Hurts was at, strictly based on a few of the issues that he has, with his accuracy. I mean, his completion percentage last year, multiple games, low 50%, high 40% completion rates, missing wide open wide receivers. He just didn't really take a step forward last year as the season went on. In fact, to me, at times, it felt like he was either stagnant or getting worse at times as the season went on. He had a couple of big games here and there, but from a fantasy standpoint, really the reason that he's propped up is because of his legs and his running ability. Now, I think people are going to end up overdrafting Jalen Hurts at this point because they love the ability on the ground. They love his, his opportunity to bring in some rushing touchdown and rushing yards. And then now all of a sudden he's got AJ Brown. And I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Jalen Hurts to the moon, baby, right? I don't think that that is necessarily going to happen. And I could see Jalen Hurts starting to make his way up and potentially being kind of in that 5 or 6 area in terms of drafted quarterbacks moving forward. I'm not excited for that. Devonta Smith, for me, I'm kind of out on him at this point personally. I think he could have some big games, but again, he's tied directly to Jalen Hurts. If they had a better quarterback, somebody that was maybe a little bit more consistent, I'm trying to buy Devonta Smith all day long. I would absolutely love the role that he's in there in Philadelphia, but again, I think he's going to have some big games and have some inconsistencies being tied directly to Jalen Hurts. And as far as A.J. Brown goes, to me, now he's kind of falling down to maybe a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. I really don't think I can go much higher than that. Personally, for me, based on how I draft, going running backs early and things of that nature, A.J. Brown, if you draft him, you're probably going to have to make him your wide receiver 1. If you're somebody out there, though, that's more interested in going wide receiver early, and you could get A.J. Brown as your wide receiver 2, potentially, like in the second round, then that to me would make a little bit more sense, because again, you're going to have some of those inconsistencies with him next year, with the inconsistencies we've seen from Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts could take a huge step forward and be just fine, and there would be no issues with him whatsoever. So, and if that happens in A.J. Brown, he's going to get better and better, which is great to see. However, because of what we've seen from Jalen Hurts so far, I'm not willing to bet on that. I'm not willing to bet on like A.J. Brown in the second round as my wide receiver 1, which is maybe probably where he's going to end up going. But like if you were to get him as your wide receiver 2, that's great, because if you've got an alpha number 1 that's way more consistent, that can help you on some of those weeks where A.J. Brown may not be connecting with Jalen Hurts as much, that'd be great. But then again, you're probably sacrificing a lot at the running back position, and that could end up hurting you in the long run. But enough about Philadelphia. What about Tennessee? What is Tennessee going to be doing now at this point? Well, number 1, they used to pick on Treylon Burks. And for me at this point, in terms of wide receiver rookie rankings for the 2022 season, not long-term, just next year, Treylon Burks really has to kind of settle in as that wide receiver 2 right now for me, behind Drake London. And Drake London, we'll talk about him in a different video going to Atlanta. But Treylon Burks has, of the wide receivers that were drafted in the first round, kind of the second best opportunity for a really large market share there in Tennessee. I mean, Robert Woods is coming off the ACL. When is he going to be ready to go? And we love us some Bobby Trees around here. Don't get me wrong. But with Bobby Trees, when's he going to be ready to go? So is Treylon Burks going to have to be the alpha right away? Now, a lot of people look at Treylon Burks and they say, oh, Treylon Burks is basically A.J. Brown. Some people have said he's a lot closer to maybe Deebo Samuel. A lot of people are split on Treylon Burks. So you either love Treylon Burks or you hate Treylon Burks. But either way it goes, Treylon Burks is going to have to show up for Tennessee now. If he does, and he does replicate some of the things that Deebo or A.J. Brown do, now we're in a position where Tennessee probably made a really good deal. But until we see that translate to the NFL, it's going to make me a little weary with that offense, especially until we know what's going on with Robert Woods. When is Bobby Trees going to be back? Now, if Robert Woods can get back to the beginning of the season and be fully healthy and not have any issues, then we're looking at, okay, Robert Woods can be the wide receiver 1 for right now. Treylon Burks kind of working his way in. Hopefully at some point he starts to take over. After a few games, he becomes that alpha in that offense. And now all of a sudden you got Bobby Trees as your wide receiver 2, and Treylon Burks is really doing a lot of damage as your wide receiver 1. That'd be great for Tennessee. It'd also be great for Derrick Henry, because right now I'm a little worried about Derrick Henry. Not enough to start dropping him down rankings, but if we're going to look at Derrick Henry and say, there's no passing game now, yes. It doesn't matter if you give him the ball 350 times in a season. He's going to be meeting 8 guys every single time he gets to the line. And even a guy like Derrick Henry, the behemoth of a man that he is, when you meet a guy, 8 guys in the box every single time, you're going to have trouble being consistent. And that's what we're going to need from Derrick Henry. So Treylon Burks, he's got a lot of pressure on him because he has got to be that guy to help draw coverage. These guys have to be able to draw coverage down the field, keep 8 men out of the box. So we'll see what happens with that. But there's going to be a lot of moving pieces going forward with these teams and what's going to be happening in terms of, what happens in the second round. Are there any free agents that are kind of out there? We know like Jarvis Landry and OBJ are still out there. Where do they end up landing? So they could kind of shift some things if they were to land with one of these teams by any chance. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that, obviously, throughout the offseason. But wanted to just give you kind of a quick breakdown. Normally when these trades happen, it's breaking news and we're out within 20 minutes, but we were live last night and not able to do that. So we wanted to hop on this morning and do a video right away to give you our breakdown on the AJ Brown trade. So do me a favor. If you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, well, you got to hit the subscribe button. You got to stick around and check out all the offseason content. Trust me, we've got tons of stuff coming over the next couple of weeks. Just with the draft finally being done, being able to finally put some guys in places, talk about rankings for rookies, for overall, and just all the content that we've got coming. So you don't want to miss any of it. In the comments down below, if you're an Eagles fan, if you're a Titans fan, let me know what you think about the trade. If you're neither of those fans, then let me know where are you going to be drafting AJ Brown this year. And then as always, if you appreciate the content, you got to hit the like button for me. But from Headliners HQ, this is Kyle. I'm going to get out of here. All of you stay safe and healthy, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.